Hello, everybody. How you guys doing on tonight? I'm so glad to be here on tonight. It is wonderful, you guys. Today has been a wonderful and productive day, but I'm so grateful and thankful that I have breath in my body and everything. And it's May. It's a new month. So new months comes with transformation. And you know what? Sacred Healing is really excited because we are going to do amazing things in May. We're bringing on some phenomenal people to speak into your life and give you understanding and knowledge. But you know what? I wanted to come on here on just before I bring our wonderful guest on here that you guys are going to love. But I want to encourage you guys on today. I want to let you guys know that there is hope in a hopeless situation. And whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever it is that you're facing right now, just know that you know what? Your purpose and what God has for you is just for you. Don't ever count yourself out. Don't ever think that it's not going to happen for you, because it is going to happen for you. Because once you set your mind on the things that, you know what, I'm not going to give up. I'm not just going to settle. I'm going to keep pressing on. And this is what I'm doing. This is what I choose to do. And I want you guys to join me because I don't want you guys to be stagnant in a situation. I don't want you guys to feel that you're helpless in any situation, because you know what? The God that we serve, the one that sits high and looks low, is looking over us and watching us. How you doing, Cynthia? Good evening, sweetheart. And you know what? I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful that my sister Angela A. Love Lewis at the We Empower Network has given me this opportunity to be on this platform to where I'm able to impart into the people and to show them that, you know what, if we put ourselves first, if we invest in ourselves first, that we can walk in our greatness, that we can show up in situations when everybody else feels that we are not even capable or we're not even deserving. And you know what, we are deserving of all of it. We deserve everything that God has predestined for us. We are deserving in everything that our hearts desire. And yeah, it's not easy. Yes, we're going to face obstacles. Yes, you know what? There are going to be hardships. But that is the what it's supposed to be. It is our path. It is our journey. It's what makes us who we are. It makes us strong. It makes us vigilant. It makes us stand in our truth. It makes us stand in our greatness. And from here on out, I am going after everything that God has for me. But before I bring on Miss Marlene, I just want to let you know something about her. Her resilience, her faith, her courage will speak for itself when she comes on tonight, because she's an advocate. She believes wholeheartedly in this mission. And I want you guys to take time, take heed, because even in her situation, she has pressed forth. But none other, I'm going to bring on our guest on tonight. I am so excited. Are you on, Marlene? Can you hear
I
me?
am. Can you
Oh
hear
my
me?
goodness, I'm so thankful to have you on here on
Yes.
tonight, Marlene. Again, like you said, you were on Empower Mornings with us, and it was
Yes.
just so phenomenal. And I wanted to bring you back, especially in the Sacred Healing broadcast, because you know what? I believe that you have so much knowledge and to offer us too, because there's so many people out here struggling with just
Yeah.
different type of situations, and they need to hear a story that, you know what, that there is hope, that there is, something beyond what they've been told. And on
Yeah.
tonight, I just want you to share your truth.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to kind of go into on the day, Marlene, what was it? Where were you at on the day that you were given this news, this is going to be a part of your life at this time, this new chapter that you had to say, you know what, okay, I need to embrace this because this is what it's going to be like for right now. Give me the steps at the beginning and who you are today from then and now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Regina, for having me on. It is truly a pleasure. Just the fact that you're sharing your audience with me, and it is my life's mission now to bring awareness to that horrible topic that no one likes to talk about, everyone feels ashamed of, but yet it plagues so many people, and so
Yes.
many people are suffering in silence. And I myself used to be one of those people that suffered in silence as it related to infertility. So to answer your question in terms of where I was and what was going on when I got the word, or just realized, my gosh, I'm up for an uphill battle. I didn't
Right.
think it was going to be this. Why does it have to be so difficult? So I can take you back a little bit in the sense,
Okay.
my husband and I, we had gotten married. We were pretty young, okay? And my husband had a baby. He was two. He was a little less than 2 years old when he came into my life. He's my big son. I call him Rich. Well, his name is Richard, but I call him Rich. And I always say that he's my one kid that didn't give me any labor pains. So my husband and I think I was 21 at the time, and, just still young, 21, 22. And of course, you're in that situation where you're not trying, but you're not trying. And
Right.
my brain, I just figured, okay, well, maybe it's me because my husband already had a son, and something just didn't quite sit right in me. So I said, you know what? I'm really big on education, which is why I
Hmm.
promote education like crazy, right? And education
Right.
doesn't always mean going for that college degree or sitting in
Right.
school. Education means if somebody else knows something that you don't know and they teach you, you need to be willing to learn. Okay. That's what education
Right.
is, right? So I
Right.
said, I don't want to just sit here and wait and say, oh, I have time. So something in me told me, let's go to the doctor. So long story short, we get a referral from one of my husband's family members, and then we end up going to the doctor. And in doing that, I remember there was a nurse. She was a Jamaican nurse, and she said
Okay.
in the accent, I don't want to butcher the
It's
accent.
okay. It's
So
okay.
she goes, what are y'all young picnics doing here? And we're like, what do you mean? She goes, you guys are young. There's no reason for you to be here. Just keep
Wow.
trying and you'll be fine.
Right.
And at that point, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to be here, because what's going to happen is if I
Right.
don't do that, before you
Right.
know it, I'm only 22 now, but I'll be 38, 39, 40. And the first thing you or someone in your position are going to tell me is, well,
Right.
why did you guys wait so long to get here?
Right.
So, long
Right.
story short, we got a workup and everything was pretty much okay. They diagnosed me with PCOS, and PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay.
So, with that, there's a slew of symptoms that people who have PCOS can get. You may have all, you may have some, you may have three.
Right.
It just depends. And my husband was also diagnosed with a little bit of male factor infertility. But the
Okay.
doctors looked at us and said, oh, but this is nothing. This is not going to impair your ability to
Right.
conceive. It's just, okay, well, just keep trying. We're going to put you on some
Uh-huh.
medication to regulate your hormones, and it should happen. So, to specifically answer your question, Miss Regina, 2002 went by, 2003 went by, 2004 went by, 2005 went by, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. So all those years went by. So I think it was finally in 2004 that it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I
Wow.
said, I don't, something's going on. This just isn't happening. And I have
Right.
to tell you that I had to resolve myself, because first, when you first find out that, okay, nothing's wrong per se, you kind
Right.
of get a sense of relief, right?
Right.
But then as you move on in that, and month by month, each month goes by and you're disappointed because you get this menstrual cycle, you
Right.
start doubting,
Right.
you start to wonder what if, you start to say, well, maybe they were wrong and maybe something else is wrong.
Right.
You start to say, okay, well, why isn't it happening? And it was at that moment that I said, this is hard. I did all the right things, quote unquote. I went to school, I got my education, my husband and I got married, we bought our first home, we were doing everything right. But then for whatever reason, it wasn't happening. So at that point, I had to really take a long look in the mirror. And both of us did, actually, to figure out, okay, well, what does this mean? What are we willing to do? What are we willing to try? Because
Right.
you get to the point where you're really down and you're in
Right.
doubt too. You're in doubt for a long time, but the reality was it wasn't happening, so we had to deal with it.
Wow. And you know what? And like you said, you were in your 20s. I mean,
Yes.
you're at a, like the lady said, like, why are you here? This is not a young person's
Right.
problem. You know, they
Correct.
already, yeah, they already had, so putting in the category is, you had to be older and stuff. So yeah, and that's another thing. Like, well, dang, is there something wrong with me? I'm young. This,
Right.
why is this happening? And that could put you in a state to where, like, am I worthy enough to even have a child? Why is it
Hmm.
that this is happening to me? What were
Yeah.
your, like, where was it when it got down to like the nitty gritty of like, okay, this is what we have to do now, the next step. Do you remember that at
I
that time
do.
frame?
I do. I remember switching doctors
Okay.
in 2008. And after switching doctors in 2008, they found out that I needed to have more of like an exploratory surgery to take a deeper look inside with my organs to figure out what else is going on. And in that particular time, I said, man, okay, so we're going to do this surgery. The surgery was done in December of 2009. I'll never forget it. It was around Christmas time. And
Okay.
after doing that surgery, I just figured, okay, so this is after we do this surgery, I won't need any more treatments because this is just going to flush everything out, clean everything
Right.
out, and we have like a
Right.
fresh slate.
Okay.
So remember, I told you the surgery was December 2009. So then January
Uh-huh.
2010 rolls around. Regina, I lost it. I lost it. It was the first time I know. Well, the second time, it was the first time wasn't as severe. In
Uh-huh.
2003, it wasn't as severe, like, because I don't like to use the D word, which is depression.
Right.
But I think I was almost there in January
Okay.
2010. And the reason why is because when I tell you that word you used, am I not worthy, or the phrase you used, am I not worthy? When I tell you everybody around me was pregnant,
Mm.
everybody around me was pregnant. Some of them were planned, some of them weren't planned. And it's just crazy because I'm happy for them. I love
Right.
children. That's all I did when I was younger. I babysat kids. I did kids' hair. I took
Wow.
care of my nieces and nephews. I helped raise them. I took care of my cousins from the time I was 9. I was doing hair. I was babysitting. Like, I loved it. So I was always happy for them. And I
Right.
loved when everyone was pregnant because that's more babies I get to help or things that I help
Right.
to get planned. But it also reminded me when I got home, I didn't have that. And
Mm.
I think for the first time, it really affected me to the point where I cried uncontrollably. My
Wow.
husband couldn't console me. I said, this is not fair. This is horrible. I think I
Right.
feel jealous, and I'm not a jealous person.
Right.
I was angry. It was just, this is never going to change. I don't understand what happened. It was horrible. No one could console me. And when I say no one, I
Mm.
mean my husband, because no one else knew that I was dealing with this and that I felt this way.
Mhm.
So it was almost like, okay, put the facade down,
Right.
bring the barriers down, and just
Right.
let it out, because
Right.
this is consuming you inside. And then I felt guilty for feeling like that, because I'm like, well, does that make me a bad person now because
Right.
I'm crying for something that I want because other people have it? But
That's
it
true.
was
Right.
just that it was then in 2010 that I realized that. So I remember after going through that, and back then there was no talk, just as recent as 2010, there really was no talk about mental health, or where I could go to get help,
Right.
or what I could do to
Right.
start to feel better, or none of that existed, right? So I remember just taking my time, being sad. I remember there was a weekend, my husband goes, I'm not leaving you home by yourself. Let's just get in the car with me. So we had some errands to run. I was out. And I think about a week later, all of a sudden I got this sense, I got this conviction, and I got this sense of, okay, I can't keep doing the same thing. We need to
Right.
go do something different. So I ended up
Right.
contacting the doctor that did my surgery, the month prior, and
Uh-huh.
we decided to take the next step and try the IVF. And I was very afraid of that. Just very afraid because one, it's expensive, and no one talks to you about the financial aspect, right, of infertility, because insurance didn't
How
cover.
does one go about that?
Mhm.
I mean, especially if
Mhm.
you're not like having all this money, and I mean, how does a person take approach? Because now
Yeah.
they want a child, but they don't have the finances. How does somebody, approach that?
Right, right. See, now I'm in the space that I'm in. I'm learning about, not learning, I'm teaching couples about how to budget for infertility and how to kind of take a proactive approach. But going back to 2010, 2011, when my husband did it, there was none of that. It was you went to the clinic and they
Okay.
gave you your options. And back then, the options were you either pay, cash. So if you had savings, you were dipping into your savings to do it. Some people I know use part of their retirement, like they would borrow from the 401k or take out a second mortgage on
Mm.
their home. So these were the options back then. And another option that was available to my husband and I that were presented to us that we actually capitalized on was they had an option where you could do a financing and you can
Okay.
do a package deal. So in
Okay.
that package deal, you had the option of doing up to 3 IVF cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And in the event you did not bring home a live baby, you would get your money back in that
Mm.
three, from those 3 cycles. So I
Okay.
said, okay, well, what can go wrong? Let's try that. And it was a loan, but you're like, okay, well, I can get my money back if it doesn't work. So let's
Right.
go ahead. So that was the option that we did, back then. And even then it's scary because you have this loan now that you have to pay back, right? Because now
Right.
you don't know if it's going to work. And let's say it does work, but now you have this
Okay.
bill. And then with the bill, do you finance it for 84 months, which is like 7 years? Do you do 5 years? So
Right.
it's just a lot. And when you're a young couple, you already are just trying to start off in life. It's hard to think about that financial burden that you'd have to carry as well. Mhm.
On top of what you're going through.
Exactly.
So
On
that's
top of
another
what you're going through.
level of stress added on, because anytime you have a child, that is an increase of what's going to happen, with finances in your household. So yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, and like you said, and you guys were, young, dealing with this,
Yep.
and
Yep.
now take us to the where, now that you've gone through the process and you're in the process of having a baby, do you remember that those stages of going in and like all this is new and not knowing? Did you actually conceive from your first?
So you're sitting down, right? You're not standing up.
No, I'm sitting down. What in the
Okay.
world?
Yes. So we start and we go forward with the 3 package option. And
Okay.
that one it was close to $30,000. Okay. That was the cost of the package. So I want to say 26 or 28,000. And the reason why I say close to 30 is because that package doesn't cover the medication. So you're
Gotcha.
buying the medication out of pocket as well. So that runs
Wow.
you another $3,000 to $5,000. Okay. So we go forward, we went to pray, talk to the Lord, did
All
whatever
that.
we needed to do, all that good stuff, right? Prepping ourselves. So, Regina. So, of course, I say I would be the lucky one to get pregnant on the first try. So it's like, darn, I don't get to use, right, the full the
Right.
full scope of the package because I get pregnant on the first try. So in my case, yes, we found success with the first IVF, and it was my
Okay.
first ever IVF. We ended up finding success, and that's when the happiness was not long lived. I was excited.
Uh-huh.
You know, we were elated. Everybody was happy. We didn't really tell anyone. But slowly but surely, once we felt we were in the safe zone, we were able to share with the family. So now everyone knows I'm pregnant. I'm outwardly showing. I made it all the way to 20 weeks. So I was 20 weeks pregnant, which is 5 months. So you
Right.
can just tell, you're showing. And one day I just wasn't feeling well. I wasn't feeling well and I passed a clot. And fast forward 2 more weeks and a day, I had to have my labor induced.
Mm.
And I had to deliver our daughter, Angel Grace. And she is the driving force behind everything that I do now. And I never thought in a million years that I would have the courage to do it.
Okay.
But Regina, it was a horrible situation. And the reason why it happened, they explained to me I had something called incompetent cervix. Yes, that horrible word, incompetent cervix. Now, the medical industry has changed the name to cervical insufficiency. And
Okay.
what that means is I was having a silent dilation of my cervix. So normally when you go into labor, once you're 9 months pregnant,
Right.
your water breaks, you go into labor, just normal textbook stuff. And then you start to feel pain because you're going into labor. But
Right.
when you're, halfway through your pregnancy, a little
Right.
bit more than halfway through, I had no pain. I had no back pain. I had no discharge. I passed the clot, but it was like a dry clot. But that was bad, but I didn't think anything of it. So it's a painless dilation and opening of your cervix. So if it would have just kept happening, like I didn't pass the clot, the baby could have just come out, when you literally think of it. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I still feel every time I think back like I was just ran over by a Mack truck, God forbid, because I walked in there, I called my doctor, like, hey, I just passed this clot, and she
Right,
goes, are
right,
you in
right,
pain? No. Do you feel good? I said, yeah, I'm fine. You have fever? No. Okay, well, come, you can
right,
drive? Yeah. You don't need your husband to bring? No, no, I'm at work. I'm
right.
gonna just go see you. So I show up, and when you're an IVF patient, I say that we're spoiled because IVF folks almost every other day you have a ultrasound.
Okay.
So I go into the office, and when I got there, she immediately sent me the ultrasound, and my doctor is talking to the ultrasound tech, and they're like, do you see it? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, all right, just talking normal. And in me, because I've had so many ultrasounds, all I
Right.
care about, Regina, is that, oh, the baby's heart is beating. Oh, okay, all
That's
right. So
it.
I'm there.
Right.
I don't know anything else that's going on that screen. I'm like, the baby's fine, no problem. So she goes, okay, Marlene, let's get dressed, or let's go talk in the other room. I said, okay. So I'm walking, and then it's so cute because I had like a planner, because it was a unplanned appointment. So I said,
Right.
since I'm gonna go see the doctor, let me bring my little planner because we can start talking about my birth plan. I had it all written out. This is my doula. This is what I want, and I'm like, okay, so we're gonna talk about it. So we're in there, and she says, I have to explain to you that your cervix is dilated 1 centimeter. I said, I don't understand. It's not time yet. What does that mean? And she goes, okay, this is what it means. She goes, you see how, and she pulled this 3D, in the doctor's office, they have
Yeah.
3D images that you can hold.
Yes.
She pulls a picture, not a picture, but the actual 3D thing of the uterus.
Right.
And then she flips it and she goes, okay, this is what your cervix is supposed to look like, closed. And she
Mm-hmm.
goes, yours is like this. So it's
Mm.
open. And I said, what? And she says, yeah. So I said, okay, so what does that mean? What do we do? She goes,
Right.
have some options. So long story short, Regina, I had to have an emergency surgery to put in what's called a vaginal cerclage. And I think it just went downhill from there. And the plan was, after I put the cerclage, because with the cerclage, they stitch you up like a purse
Right.
string. They close it and take needle and thread and
So it's
sew
like
the
a
cervix
mesh
up.
almost.
Yes, yes, so that they can close the cervix back up. And the plan was I would be leaving that hospital so that I could go home on bed rest until, I had the baby,
Right.
easy in and out. That never happened. I never left. I walked in with no contractions. And right after the surgery, the contractions couldn't stop. They just kept coming. So they had to keep me there. So then to stop the contractions, they put me on magnesium, and
Okay.
the magnesium was just horrible. It stopped the contractions, but it took away all my muscle tension.
Wow.
Like it was just. And then one day, long story short, Miss Regina, I didn't feel good. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget, football Sunday. So everybody, because by then I'm in the hospital 2 weeks now. So I'm
Woo.
having visitors every day. They're
Right.
coming in to see me, my family. And Sunday, everybody came over. I told them I wanted McDonald's. Somebody brought me McDonald's. I think it was my sister-in-law. And my husband, my mom, my mother-in-law, my other mother-in-law, I have two mother-in-law, like everybody was there. It was like the party at Marlene's room, just to kind of keep my spirits up. And I said, guys, I don't feel good. I felt feverish, I felt hot. And then all of a sudden, and they were, mind you, when you're in this hospital, and people need to give people grace,
Right.
when you're in this hospital, you get no rest, Regina. Every 5 minutes, they're in there
Wow.
pricking and prodding you. Okay, they
Wow.
need blood, they need urine. They need blood, they need urine. They need blood, they need urine. Because I'm laying in
Mm.
this bed, I can't get up. I have to use the restroom right there on the bedpan. Just lots of humidity, right?
Right.
So I told them I didn't feel good. Before they know it, they looked at my blood results from that morning, because now it's in the afternoon. So they said, okay, let's do another blood draw and a urine sample. So they did that. No lie. Less than 2 hours later, so many doctors, nurses came into my room,
What?
and they asked me, do you want everybody here? I said, yes, they can stay. It's fine.
Right.
So, and they explained that you basically are going septic. You have sepsis because the white blood cell count in your body So it went from being totally fine that it tested to like over, I don't know, some ridiculous
Wow.
500,000 number. It was horrible. They're like, if we don't deliver this baby right now, if you don't deliver this baby right now, we're going to lose you. So my husband perked
Whoa.
up, my mom, everybody,
They were like,
because
wait a minute now.
like what's going on, because
Right.
it's basically a blood infection, and with the
Yeah.
blood it circulates all over your body. And I was like, man, what happened, so we had to make the decision. There's nothing we could have done. By then Angel was 22 weeks, and Monday was the day that I turned. So she turned 22 weeks and one day past that midnight, and they induced my labor. I had 13 hours of labor, and it was horrible. It was horrible. They gave me the epidural. The epidural didn't numb me all the way. Instead of
Wow.
numbing me from the waist down, it started to go up, so I couldn't feel myself
Woo.
breathe. And of course, less than 1% of people this happens to,
Right,
right, with the
right. And it
epidural, but
just
it had to
happened to
happen to
you.
me.
Right.
So yeah, that's what happened, and we ended up delivering her. They let me dilate to about 6 centimeters, because at that point she was only 5.5 months. So
Wow.
I pushed her out with 3 pushes, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It's like she took a breath and a half. So she took a big breath, and then in the second breath it was like, and then she passed away. Like she was so shocked. Like she's like, "What the hell is this? And where am I?" I just know like that's what it felt, because I heard the first breath, and then right when she was trying to get through the second breath, she was gone, and it was just the most devastating. It was bad. So
And look where you are today,
yeah,
Marlene. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? You're
So
telling the story now, and it's as if it would happen today.
yes,
And it's
yes,
and you're standing in your truth, and these are
yeah,
real feelings, and
yes,
this is what people go through, and this is what people need
yes.
to say, that it doesn't just be just like you said, it's as real as it was then, as it real it is now.
Now, yeah,
And this is your driving force. You know what I'm saying? Your
yep.
baby girl is your driving force
She
of where
is.
you're at today.
She really, really is. And everything that I do is, and it took a lot, Regina, because afterwards, with the mental health, remember I told you there was no mental health back when I had that
Right
first
there.
little
Right.
breakdown. So now it's worse. Now I'm dealing with child loss, grief, after infertility. So it was my doctor, bless her heart, Dr. Lacombe. She said she wanted to see me at my 6-week appointment. And see, what people fail to realize too is that you deliver this baby.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes home with their child. You're
Right.
going home with a purple box, okay?
Right.
With footprints and all this other
Right.
stuff,
Right.
but your body delivered. So Regina, you're dealing with postpartum in the
All of
literal
it.
sense of the word. Your boobs, the bleed, like
The breast
everything.
milk,
So
all that. Yeah.
everything, yeah. So it was rough. So when I went to my doctor for the 6-week appointment, she didn't let me wait 6 weeks. She wanted to see me 4 weeks later. So I went to see her, and she said, I can see that you're really not doing well. Is it okay
Mm-hmm.
that I recommend some help for you? What have you been doing
Right.
to try to cope? So I talked to her and stuff, and she said, I have a therapist, that you can go see. I said, yes, please. I need to talk to somebody, and I was just so thankful for her for recognizing that and even
Yes.
making that recommendation. And I have to tell you, Regina, my therapist, Dr. G, she's with me till today. And this was
It's a
2000. I
blessing.
lost I lost Angel in December of 2011, and I started seeing Dr. G in February of 2012, because I saw the
Wow.
doctor in January 2012. So after, you had to have a whole funeral because of how the state of Florida laws are, name her, death certificate, funeral, everything. And then I started therapy. And that, I have to tell you, is what helped me, because with the mental health help, I felt seen, I
Yes.
felt heard, and I
Yes.
also felt like I wasn't a burden.
Right.
um, because your family and friends, they really don't know how to help you, which is why some of the work that I do today
Right.
is also centered around teaching people how to support people that are experiencing infertility, because they really don't know how to help you. And some of the stuff that they do and say, it can be deemed very hurtful, but they didn't do it on purpose, but you need
Right.
to know what's going on so that you don't cause the person more mental anguish. So my therapist was a godsend, and it was with working with her, I'm able to validate how I was
Right.
feeling, just mustering up the strength to even decide if we were going to
Right.
try again, because it was just so traumatic. you know.
And so, did we
Mhm.
try again?
We did. We tried again. It was about 6 months later. So, well,
Uh-huh.
5 months, 5 to 6 months later. And I remember it like it was yesterday because that Mother's Day was the worst Mother's Day of my life. So I had the baby in December and Mother's Day was May. I cried and cried and cried. And I cried. It was also like grieving
Yes.
because I grieved the fact of one losing my child. And I also was grieving the fact that no one told me Happy Mother's Day. I felt
Wow.
so sad. I can see
Wow.
myself laying in the bed. It was horrible.
Mm,
And I'm like, God, this is just, it doesn't feel good. This is not fair. And my therapist, she was anticipating that I might go through something like that. And
right.
she scheduled my next appointment. It happened to be that Monday right after Mother's Day. And I cried there with her. And again, just feeling validated
Right.
without, because, and the reason why it's important for the mental health aspect and for people to know how to help people, because in a case like that, unless you've been through it, you don't know, right? So
That's
then
right.
what people, yeah, they come to you, let's say I was crying and everybody saw me. They would be like, oh no, well, it's okay. You don't have to cry. Like, it's no big deal. It'll happen again. Like, those were the type of things that I was hearing. And it's like,
Wow.
you want to feel, so when you think you're going to get that type of response, you hold it in even more, which
Right.
suffocates you internally even more.
Right.
So knowing that you have that safe space in a mental health capacity to really show and feel how you're feeling, it
Right.
really helps you heal,
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
So but before we have to get off, because we're just a little over time, Marlene, tell
Mhm.
everyone, where is Marlene at today? Who is Marlene, and where does she stand at today, going through all of this? And
Yes.
what is it that you're doing during these days now?
Thank you so much for that. And I'm sorry we're a little
No,
over, but
you're fine. No, I just wanted to
I
let you know. No, you're
appreciate the
fine. No,
time.
no, it's not. Trust
Yes.
me. No, you're good. I just wanted to
Okay,
let you know.
so where Marlene is right now, I am a proud mom of 4 boys. I have my big son Richard, like I told you, and then I also have twins, Kason and Camden. They are 12. They'll be 13 in November, and I have the baby KB. He's the boss baby, and he's 7. He just turned 7, and I am a wife. I'm a mom, still go getter, and my passion and love is infertility. I work a corporate career, but I also started my own business where I help coach men, women, and couples that are currently on their fertility journey. I also am a proud board member and CFO of a nonprofit organization, Filling Empty Wombs, where we focus on helping people through miscarriage and infertility. And I'm also happy to say that it's finally downloaded in me, and I have the courage to start my own nonprofit in honor of Angel. Her name was Angel Grace, so I'll be starting the Angel's Grace
Awesome.
Foundation this year as well, just to continue to spread awareness, help people, and help people heal. So, and I speak on many stages, podcasts like this, just bringing awareness to
Yes.
infertility, because it's just very important for people to know that, one, this exists. Two, it's okay to acknowledge it. You're not
Uh-huh.
alone. And whatever you can do to help someone in need, that's what you do. You have to allow that safe space so that they can heal, because dealing with infertility is
Mm.
one of those diagnoses, and it's a group that you never want to be in,
Eh,
because you're dealing with something not knowing if you'll ever you know get to the other side.
right. Right. Now,
Mhm.
also, you can't leave it out now. You're doing some studying here now. Don't
Yes,
want to put that
yes.
out here on top of this.
Ah,
Just don't
yes. Thank
stop.
you so
Come on
much for
now.
that. Within the next few weeks, you guys, if I have the privilege of being back, I will be known as Dr. Marlene C. DeRosso. I'm
Yes.
super excited about that. As a matter of fact, I just received the approval. My husband doesn't even know this yet. He took the boys to swimming. They're just getting home. I just received the approval that my academic reader reviewed everything. And so I'm in the final revision stages so that I can, go ahead and select my defense date and schedule it. So, and it's amazing. And I want to definitely share this because the research that I, embarked on has never been done before. And
Okay.
the research studied the lived infertility experiences of women in leadership roles. So
See.
these are women that have these high, high return careers, CEO, CFO, director, VP, and they're dealing with infertility. So my research focused on what that looked like for them and how it impacted their leadership practice. So I'm very, very excited about it. And I just think that everything is aligning because yes, I know I wanted to get my doctorate one day. Yes, I know I wanted to become an author one day, but
Hey,
I never knew that all of that would happen out of this pain, that I had to suffer through. So
from
thank you so
pain to
much for
purpose,
asking about
baby. From
that.
pain to purpose.
Yes,
And that's what
absolutely.
it's about. I thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really, really thank you, Marlene, for coming on here and giving your truth. I thank you for standing vulnerability in it because, like you said, it's always going to be fresh in your soul.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? You're always going to
absolutely.
be passionate and love for it because you know what? Your baby girl is the one behind all this,
Yes,
you
yes,
know, and that's the blessing of it. And look
absolutely.
what's come about, even though those hard and painful but look at it now. You know,
I
you're
would have
setting up a
never
foundation,
imagined.
you're getting
Yep,
your doctor, all because of what you went through. And who would it
exactly.
ever say it wasn't in vain? You had to
Nope.
go. This was your path. You know,
Yes,
it's not the easiest. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Not, I always saying, the greatest the affliction, the greatest the gift. You know,
absolutely.
and I appreciate it. And I know, and I thank women like you who don't mind speaking out, who don't mind standing in this gap and being the spokesperson for women out there that are going through this.
Yes.
But you guys, we have to go. We hate to get off of here, but it's time. But we thank you guys for joining us. Please catch the replay. If there's any questions, please drop them in the comments, and we will be more than happy to get back with you. And then Marlene, if you don't mind, in the comments, can you drop your information in there so they can just click on it once they go in and they can, get a hold of you or whatever and your foundation and
Yes,
everything.
absolutely. Do I just click join the
Yeah, you could
chat
just put
here?
it, yeah, you could just hit it in the comments, like are you doing it from your phone?
No, I'm on the computer. Let me
Oh,
see.
yeah, wherever you can get to it and just sit it in the comments, all your information in there, even when you get off, you could have it in there.
Okay, let's see. Connect to join the live chat. Give me a quick second. I'm going to put it in there right now. It
Yes.
wanted me to.
And you guys, like you
Okay.
said, just continue to seek out Marlene if there's any information. If you guys know of anybody who's going through this, just know that there is help out there. There are foundations like Marlene's that she's willing to give you all the information, the steps of what needs to be done. And this way you have some understanding, even from the first visit of going your first consultation, what to expect and what may happen afterwards. That's much better of at least knowing than not knowing.
Absolutely.
you
Knowledge
know
is power. We have to be educated. So that's why it's
yes,
important, to be able to know. The more you know, the better it is that
the
you're
people,
able
hey,
and
our
more
people
well equipped to
perish
help.
for the lack of
Exactly.
knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
guys, we gotta go, but
Okay.
I appreciate y'all. Marlene, again, I appreciate you, sweetheart.
Thank
And until the
you.
next time, bye, guys. Love
Bye. Thank you so
y'all.
much.
Thank you.